The rain came down hard that Tuesday afternoon, turning the streets into rivers of gray water. Ryan Mitchell pulled his black Mercedes into the underground parking lot of Riverside Mall, his jaw tight with frustration. Another meeting had gone wrong. Another deal was falling apart. At 28 years old, he'd made his first million by 23, but lately, success felt more like a prison than a victory. He grabbed his phone and leather briefcase, then headed toward the elevator. The mall was one of those fancy places where everything sparkled under crystal chandeliers. Marble floors, designer stores, the kind of place where a cup of coffee cost more than some people made in an hour. Ryan didn't come here to shop. He came here because it was close to his office, and sometimes he needed to walk around and think without people bothering him. The mall was quieter than usual because of the weather. Most people had stayed home. Ryan loosened his tie as he walked past the luxury boutiques. His phone kept buzzing with messages from his assistant, his lawyer, his business partner. Everyone wanted something from him. Everyone had a problem that only money could solve. He found himself in the central atrium, a massive open space with a domed glass ceiling. Despite the storm outside, the inside felt warm and dry. In the middle of the atrium sat a beautiful grand piano, all black and shiny. It was part of some promotion by a music store. They'd set it up weeks ago, hoping people would try it out and maybe buy one. A small sign read, "Feel free to play." Ryan stopped walking. He stared at the piano for a long moment. How long had it been since he'd actually sat at a piano? 3 years? Maybe longer? He used to play all the time when he was younger. His mother had made sure of that. Even when they could barely afford groceries, she'd found a way to get him keyboard lessons at the community center. Without really thinking about it, Ryan walked over to the piano bench and sat down. The leather was cool and smooth. He placed his briefcase beside him and pulled out his phone. 47 unread emails, 23 text messages. He started scrolling through them, his fingers moving fast across the screen. He didn't notice the little girl at first. She stood about 10 feet away, partially hidden behind a potted plant. She couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 years old. Her clothes looked clean but old. The kind of clothes that had been washed so many times the colors had faded. Her jacket had a small tear near the shoulder, patched up with mismatched fabric. She wore sneakers that were too big for her feet, probably hand-me-downs or bought from a thrift store. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she carried a backpack that had seen better days. Maya Chen had been watching the piano for almost an hour. She came to the mall every Tuesday and Thursday after school while her mother finished her shift. Her mom worked as a janitor here, cleaning the stores after they closed and maintaining the common areas during the day. Maya usually did her homework at a table in the food court, but today she'd finished early. She loved coming to see the piano. Sometimes people played it, and she would sit nearby and listen, closing her eyes and imagining the music taking her somewhere far away. She watched the man in the expensive suit sit down at the piano. He looked important, rich, the kind of person who probably lived in a big house and never worried about anything. But he wasn't playing. He was just staring at his phone, his face tight and unhappy. Maya wondered why someone would sit at a piano and not play it. That seemed like a waste. If she could play the piano, she'd play it every single day. She'd learn all the most beautiful songs and play them for her mother when she came home tired from work. She took a small step closer, then another. Her heart was beating fast. She wasn't usually brave enough to talk to strangers, especially not rich-looking strangers in fancy suits. But something about the way the man sat there, so close to something beautiful but not using it, made her sad. Ryan was deep into reading an email from his lawyer when he heard a small voice beside him. "Excuse me, sir?" He looked up, annoyed. A little girl stood there looking at him with big, hopeful eyes. He glanced around, expecting to see a parent nearby, but there was no one. "Yes?" His voice came out sharper than he intended. "Can you play something?" Maya asked softly. "On the piano?" Ryan turned back to his phone. "I'm busy." "Oh." Maya's shoulders dropped a little, but she didn't walk away. She stood there for another moment, gathering her courage. "My mom said that people who sit at pianos have music in their hearts." Ryan kept his eyes on his screen, pretending not to hear her. Maya continued, her voice even softer now. "She used to play for me before she got too tired from working. She said music is like medicine for sad days." Something in those words made Ryan stop scrolling. He looked at the girl again, really looked at her this time. She wasn't begging. She wasn't trying to sell anything. She just wanted to hear music. There was something about her eyes, the way they held both hope and understanding at the same time, that reminded him of someone. His mother. Before the cancer, before the medical bills and the hospital rooms and the funeral, back when they lived in that tiny apartment and she'd play their old keyboard while he did his homework at the kitchen table. "I haven't played in a long time," Ryan heard himself say. "That's okay," Maya said quickly. "Even a little bit would be nice." Ryan looked down at the piano keys. They were perfect, pristine, probably tuned professionally every week. Nothing like the sticky, yellowed keys of his childhood keyboard. He put his phone down on the bench beside him. "Just one song," he said, more to himself than to her. Maya's face lit up. She moved closer, standing just beside the piano where she could see his hands. Ryan stared at the keys for a long moment, his hands hovering above them. Which song? What could he even remember? Then it came to him. The first song his mother had taught him. The one she'd played on the worst days when the bills piled up and there wasn't enough money for rent. Beethoven's Fürlies, simple but beautiful. He placed his fingers on the keys. They felt strange and familiar at the same time, like greeting an old friend you haven't seen in years. He pressed down and the first notes filled the atrium. Ryan had forgotten how much he loved this. The feel of the keys under his fingers, the way the music seemed to come from somewhere deep inside him. As he played, more people stopped to listen. A woman with shopping bags paused mid-step. An elderly couple sat down on a nearby bench. A teenager pulled out his phone to record. Maya stood perfectly still, her eyes wide with wonder. She'd never heard anything so beautiful in her entire life. Ryan played the whole piece, his fingers remembering movements they hadn't made in 3 years. When the final note faded into silence, he realized his vision was blurry. He blinked and a tear rolled down his cheek. He'd been so busy building his empire that he'd forgotten who he was building it for. The small crowd that had gathered began to clap. Ryan quickly wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, embarrassed. He wasn't the kind of man who cried in public. He wasn't the kind of man who cried at all anymore. But something about that song, about sitting at that piano after so long, had broken through the walls he'd built around himself. Maya moved closer and gently patted his hand. Her touch was so light, so innocent, that it made his chest tighten even more. "That was beautiful," she said quietly. "Really, really beautiful. You made everyone stop and listen." Ryan looked at her. This small girl with worn-out clothes and a smile that seemed too bright for someone who clearly didn't have much. "Thank you," he managed to say. His voice sounded rough. "Are you sad?" Maya asked, tilting her head to one side. "It's okay to be sad sometimes. My mom says crying is just how our hearts clean themselves." Ryan let out a breath that was half laugh, half sigh. "Your mom sounds like a wise person." "She is," Maya said proudly. "She knows lots of things. She works really hard too, harder than anyone I know." "What does she do?" Maya pointed toward the east wing of the mall. "She cleans. She's a janitor here. She's been working since 7 this morning. She won't be done until 6. Ryan checked his watch. It was only 3:30. "That's a long day." "She works 3 jobs, Maya said matter-of-factly, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Here, at a restaurant at night, and sometimes on weekends she cleans offices. She says we're saving up for something special." "What's that?" Maya's eyes lit up. "A piano. A real one. Well, probably a keyboard first because pianos cost too much, but someday maybe a real piano. Mom used to play when she was younger. She was really good. She wanted to teach music, but then..." Maya's voice trailed off and some of the brightness left her face. "But then what?" Ryan asked gently. "But then she had me," Maya said simply. "And my dad left. And she had to work instead. Then she had an accident at one of her jobs 2 years ago. She hurt her back really bad. The hospital bills were expensive. She still has to pay them. That's why she works so much." Ryan felt something twist in his stomach. This little girl was talking about poverty and hardship like they were just facts of life, not tragedies. "I'm sorry," he said. Maya shrugged. "It's okay. Mom says we have each other, and that's the most important thing. And she still hums songs to me at night. She remembers all the pretty music even if she can't play anymore. Her hands hurt too much now." Ryan looked down at his own hands, soft, uncalloused. Hands that typed on expensive keyboards and signed million-dollar contracts but hadn't created anything beautiful in years. He thought about this woman, Maya's mother, whose hands had worked so hard they couldn't play piano anymore. The unfairness of it hit him like a punch. "What's your name?" he asked. Maya Chen. What's yours?" Ryan Mitchell." "That's a nice name," Maya said. "Do you work here too?" "No, I own a tech company. We make software." Maya nodded like she understood, but Ryan doubted she really knew what that meant. "Is that why you're wearing such a fancy suit?" Despite everything, Ryan smiled. "Yeah, I guess so." "Do you like your job?" The question caught him off guard. Did he like his job? When was the last time anyone had asked him that? People asked if his company was profitable, if his investors were happy, if he was closing deals. But did he like it? "I used to," Ryan said slowly. "I started my company because I wanted to make things better for people, easier. But somewhere along the way it became about the money. About being successful, about proving I could do it. Proving it to who? To everyone, I guess, to myself, to my mother. Where's your mother now?" Ryan felt that familiar ache in his chest. "She died. 3 years ago. Cancer." Maya's expression softened with understanding beyond her years. "That's why you cried when you played. You were thinking about her." "How did you know that?" "Because music makes us remember the people we love," Maya said. "When I hear pretty songs, I think about my grandma. She died when I was little, but I remember her singing to me. Music keeps people alive in here." She pointed to her heart. Ryan stared at this 9-year-old child who somehow understood things that most adults never figured out. "You're a very smart kid, Maya. My mom says I'm an old soul. I don't really know what that means, but I think it's a good thing." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. The mall continued its rhythm around them. Shoppers passed by. Store music played faintly in the background. The rain continued to drum against the glass ceiling above them. "Do you come here every day?" Ryan asked. "Just on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Those are the days Mom works the afternoon shift here. I do my homework in the food court and wait for her to finish. Sometimes I come look at the piano. I've been coming to watch it for 3 weeks now." "Do people play it often?" "Sometimes. Last week, a lady played some jazz music. It was really bouncy and fun, and sometimes the music store sends someone to play so people will want to buy pianos. But mostly it just sits there empty. That makes me sad. Something so beautiful shouldn't just sit there unused." Ryan looked at the piano. Really looked at it. She was right. Here was this magnificent instrument, capable of creating incredible beauty, and most of the time no one even touched it. Kind of like his life, he thought. He had all these resources, all this money, all this potential to do something meaningful, and what was he doing? Sitting in meetings, staring at spreadsheets, fighting with business partners about profit margins. "Maya, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Maya didn't hesitate. "A music teacher. Like my mom wanted to be. I want to teach kids who don't have money for lessons. I want to show them that music can make sad hearts feel lighter. That's what Mom always says. Music makes sad hearts feel lighter." There it was again. That simple phrase that had somehow lodged itself in Ryan's brain. Music makes sad hearts feel lighter. His heart had been heavy for 3 years. So heavy he'd almost forgotten what lightness felt like. But for just a few minutes, while his fingers moved across those piano keys, he'd felt something shift. "That's a beautiful dream," Ryan said. "Do you think it's silly?" Maya asked, a hint of worry in her voice. "My teacher says I should be realistic. That people like us need to focus on jobs that pay bills, not dreams that might not come true." Ryan felt a flash of anger at this teacher, whoever they were. "No," he said firmly. "It's not silly at all. Don't let anyone tell you your dreams are too big." Maya smiled, relieved. "What was your dream?" "Before you made all your money." Ryan thought back to when he was young, before the success and the wealth. He remembered sitting at that old keyboard with his mother, playing songs together. She'd ask him what he wanted to do with his life, and he'd always said the same thing. "I wanted to help people the way my mom helped me. She worked hard so I could have opportunities. I wanted to make sure other kids had those chances too." "And did you?" The question hung in the air. Had he? Really? He'd donated to charities, sure. Written checks at fundraising galas. But had he actually helped anyone? Had he made a real difference in someone's life? "No," Ryan admitted quietly. "I don't think I have." Maya looked at him with those wise, understanding eyes. "It's not too late," she said. "My mom says it's never too late to start doing the right thing." Ryan felt something crack open inside him. This little girl, who had every reason to be bitter about her circumstances, was encouraging him. A millionaire who'd lost his way. You're right, he said. It's not too late. Ryan pulled out his phone and checked the time again. 4:15. He had a conference call scheduled for 4:30, another meeting at 6, and dinner with potential investors at 8. His whole life was scheduled down to the minute. But sitting here talking to this little girl, he didn't want to leave. Do you have to go? Maya asked, noticing him looking at his phone. I should, Ryan said, but he didn't stand up. I have work stuff. Oh. Maya's face fell slightly, but she smiled anyway. Thank you for playing. It really was beautiful. It made my whole day better. Something about the way she said it, so genuine and grateful for such a simple thing, made Ryan's chest hurt. When was the last time something had made his day better? When was the last time he'd felt real joy instead of just satisfaction at closing a deal? Maya, would it be okay if I met your mother? The words came out before he'd really thought them through. Maya's eyes widened. Really, you want to meet my mom? I'd like to, if that's okay. She'd love that. She's probably in the West Wing right now. She usually cleans the stores over there around this time. Come on. Maya grabbed her backpack and started walking, clearly expecting Ryan to follow. Ryan picked up his briefcase and followed her through the mall. They passed the expensive stores with window displays that probably cost more than some people made in a month. Maya chatted as they walked, pointing out different things. The fountain where she sometimes tossed pennies and made wishes. The bookstore where she liked to read when her mom had extra long shifts. The pretzel stand that sometimes gave her free samples. They found her mother in a department store that was closed for renovations. The woman was on her knees, scrubbing the floor with determined strokes. She wore a gray uniform and had her hair tied back in a neat bun. Even from behind, Ryan could see the tiredness in her shoulders. The careful way she moved, like every motion hurt a little. Mom, Maya called out. The woman turned around and Ryan saw a face that might have been beautiful if it wasn't so worn down by exhaustion. She looked young, maybe mid-30s, but there were lines around her eyes and mouth that came from years of hard work and worry. When she saw her daughter with a stranger in an expensive suit, concern flashed across her face. Maya, what's wrong? Who is this? Nothing's wrong, Mom. This is Ryan. He played the piano for me. He's really, really good. The woman stood up slowly, one hand going to her lower back. She pulled off her cleaning gloves and offered her hand to Ryan. I'm Linda Chen. Is everything okay? Maya didn't bother you, did she? No, not at all, Ryan said, shaking her hand. Her grip was strong despite the calluses he could feel on her palm. Your daughter has excellent taste in music. She asked me to play and I'm glad she did. Linda looked between Ryan and Maya, trying to figure out what was happening. Maya knows she's not supposed to bother the shoppers. She wasn't a bother. Honestly, she did me a favor. Ryan found himself wanting to put this woman at ease. I haven't played piano in 3 years. Your daughter reminded me what I've been missing. Linda's expression softened slightly. She loves music. Always has. Ever since she was tiny, anytime she'd hear music, she'd stop whatever she was doing and just listen. Mom used to play piano, Maya announced proudly. She was really good. Tell him, Mom. Linda's cheeks flushed. That was a long time ago, baby. I haven't played in years. Why not? Ryan asked. Though Maya had already told him the answer, Linda held up her hands. They were red and rough from cleaning chemicals. These hands are made for mops and brooms now, not piano keys. Besides, I don't have time for things like that anymore. Ryan saw something in her eyes when she said it. A flash of loss, of dreams put away in a box and buried deep. He recognized that look because he'd seen it in his own mirror for the past 3 years. Maya told me you work 3 jobs. Linda shot her daughter a look, then sighed. Maya, you can't just tell strangers our business. But he's nice, Mom. And he's rich. Look at his suit. Maya. Linda's voice was sharp now, embarrassed. That's rude. It's okay, Ryan said quickly. She's just being honest. And she's right, I do okay for myself. But that doesn't mean I have all the answers. Actually, I think I've been pretty lost lately. Linda studied him for a moment. You don't look lost. You look successful. Sometimes those things aren't as different as you'd think. Something in his tone made Linda pause. She saw past the expensive suit and the confident exterior. Would you like some coffee? I'm due for my break in 5 minutes. There's a small staff room where we can talk. Maya usually does her homework there. They walked to the staff room, a plain space with a few tables, a microwave, and a coffee maker that had seen better days. Linda poured coffee into styrofoam cups while Maya pulled out her homework. Ryan watched mother and daughter move around each other with practiced ease. The way Linda automatically checked Maya's homework. The way Maya handed her mother 2 aspirin from her backpack without being asked. They'd developed a rhythm born from necessity. "So you're a musician?" Linda asked, sitting down across from him. "I was. My mother taught me when I was young. She made sure I had lessons even when we couldn't really afford them. Sounds like a good mom." "The best." Ryan paused, then added quietly, "She died 3 years ago. I haven't played since." Linda's expression shifted to understanding. "I'm sorry. That must have been hard." "It was. Still is." Ryan wrapped his hands around the warm cup. "She worked herself to exhaustion taking care of me. Kind of like what you're doing for Maya." Linda bristled slightly. "I do what I have to do. Maya deserves a good life. I'm not criticizing. I'm saying I understand. My mother cleaned houses, worked in a laundry service, did whatever she could to make sure I had opportunities. She used to say that her hands could be rough as long as mine stayed soft enough to play piano." Linda's eyes misted over. "That's exactly the kind of thing I think about Maya. Mom wants my hands to stay good for playing piano someday." Maya piped up from where she was working on math problems. Ryan looked at this little girl, so much like he'd been at her age, full of dreams and hope despite circumstances that should have crushed her spirit. "Can I tell you something?" he said to Linda. "Something I just realized today?" "Sure. My mother worked so hard so that I could have a better life. And I did. I built a successful company, made more money than she ever dreamed of. But somewhere along the way, I forgot why she wanted me to succeed. It wasn't about the money. It was about making a difference, about using whatever talents I had to help other people." "And did you? Make a difference?" Ryan shook his head slowly. "Not really. I got so caught up in building my business that I lost sight of everything else. I stopped playing music, stopped doing anything that didn't make money. I became exactly the kind of person my mother wouldn't have been proud of." "I'm sure that's not true," Linda said gently. "It is. But your daughter, she said something today that hit me hard. She said music makes sad hearts feel lighter, and she's right. For 3 years my heart has been heavy and I didn't even realize I could do something about it." Linda reached over and squeezed Maya's shoulder. "She's a wise little soul, isn't she?" "She is. And watching you two, seeing how much you love each other, how hard you work for her dreams, it reminds me of what my mother and I had, what I've been too busy to honor properly." They sat in silence for a moment, sipping bad coffee in a dingy break room, but something felt right about it. Real. More real than any of the fancy restaurants or boardrooms where Ryan usually spent his time. "Can I ask you something?" Ryan said. "What would you do if you didn't have to worry about money? If you could do anything?" Linda laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "That's a dangerous question. I gave up on dreams like that a long time ago." "Humor me." Linda looked at her daughter, who was watching them both with curious eyes. "I'd teach music. Piano, specifically. I'd open a little school where kids who couldn't afford regular lessons could come and learn. I'd teach them that music isn't just for rich people, that it belongs to everyone, that it can save your life on the hardest days like it saved yours, like it saved mine," Linda confirmed. "When Maya's father left, when the bills piled up, when I thought I couldn't go on, I'd hum the songs I used to play. It kept me sane, kept me hoping." Ryan felt something click into place in his mind. A purpose, a direction. For the first time in 3 years, he felt like he could see clearly. "What if I told you that dream doesn't have to stay a dream?" Linda looked at him suspiciously. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I want to help. I need to help. Not because you need charity, but because helping you and Maya might be exactly what I need too." Linda's expression changed immediately. The warmth disappeared, replaced by something harder. She set down her coffee cup with more force than necessary. "No, thank you, but no," Ryan blinked, surprised. "I haven't even told you what I'm thinking." "I know what you're thinking. Rich man feels sorry for poor woman and her kid. Wants to throw money at the problem so he can feel good about himself. I've seen it before. The answer is no." "Mom," Maya said quietly, looking between them with worried eyes. "Maya, go wait outside for a minute, okay, baby?" "But Mom, please." Maya gathered her homework slowly, glancing back at them as she left the break room. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Linda stood up and started pacing. "Look, I appreciate that you were nice to my daughter. I really do. And I'm glad you played piano for her. That meant something to her. But we don't need your charity. It's not charity, Ryan said, staying seated, keeping his voice calm. Let me explain. I've heard these explanations before. Some rich person sees us struggling and wants to help. They offer money or opportunities, but there's always strings attached. Always. And when you can't meet their expectations or they get bored with their good deed, they disappear. I won't put Maya through that. Ryan understood her anger. He'd probably react the same way if their positions were reversed. Pride was sometimes all people had left. You're right to be suspicious. But what if I told you this isn't about you at all? What if it's about me? Linda stopped pacing and crossed her arms. What do you mean? I run a company with 300 employees. I make hiring decisions every week. Right now I need someone in my corporate services department. Someone who knows how to manage things, work hard, pay attention to details, someone reliable. The job pays $60,000 a year with full health benefits and retirement matching. Are you telling me you're not qualified? Linda's arms dropped slightly. $60,000? Plus benefits. It's an honest job, Linda. You'd be coordinating building services, managing vendor relationships, overseeing facility maintenance. Based on what I've seen today, you're exactly the kind of person who'd be good at it. I don't have a college degree. I dropped out when I got pregnant. Neither did my mother. Some of the best people I've ever hired didn't finish college. They just knew how to work, how to solve problems, how to show up every single day no matter what. That's you, isn't it? Linda sat back down slowly. Why would you do this? Ryan leaned forward. Because 3 years ago my mother died believing I was going to change the world. And instead, I've been sitting in an office moving money around and calling it success. Today your 9-year-old daughter taught me more about life than I've learned in 3 years. She reminded me that I have the power to actually help people, not just write checks at charity events. So yes, this is selfish. I need this as much as you do. And Maya? What about her? You said you wanted to help both of us. What did you have in mind for my daughter? Ryan had been thinking about this since they sat down. Maya told me she wants to be a music teacher. She wants to teach kids who can't afford lessons. That's a beautiful dream. And she shouldn't have to wait until she's an adult to start learning. What if I set up a scholarship program? One that covers music lessons for kids whose families can't afford them. Maya would be the first student. Linda's eyes filled with tears. You'd do that? I'd do more than that. I'd name it after my mother. The program would help kids like Maya, kids like I used to be, learn music regardless of their circumstances. It's what my mom would have wanted. It's what I should have done years ago. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. That's all I'm asking. Linda wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. This is crazy. This morning I woke up worried about how I'd pay this month's electric bill, and now you're offering me a job and piano lessons for my daughter. Things like this don't happen to people like me. Maybe they should happen more often. They sat in silence for a moment. Linda stared at her rough, chemical-worn hands. I want to believe you. I really do. But I'm scared. What if you change your mind? What if this is just some impulse and next week you forget all about us? Ryan pulled a business card from his wallet and wrote on the back. This is my personal cell phone. Not my assistant, not my secretary. Me. Call it right now if you want. Make sure it's real. Linda took the card with trembling fingers. She pulled out an old flip phone from her uniform pocket and dialed the number. Ryan's phone buzzed in his pocket. He answered it. Hello, Linda. She let out a shaky laugh and hung up. Okay, it's real. Come to my office tomorrow. Meet my HR director. Look at the job description. If you don't like it or don't trust me, walk away. No hard feelings. But at least give yourself the chance to see what's possible. And the music lessons? I'll set up meetings with 3 different music schools this week. You and Maya can visit them. See which teacher she connects with best. She starts whenever you're ready. Linda covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook. Ryan wasn't sure if she was crying or laughing or both. When she finally looked up, tears streamed down her face. Why? She whispered. Why us? There are thousands of people in this city who need help. Why did you choose us? Ryan thought about that for a long moment. Because Maya saw me sitting at a piano, wasting an opportunity to create something beautiful. And she had the courage to ask me to be better. Not many people do that. Most people just leave you sitting there wasting your life. Your daughter didn't. She asked for music, and in doing that, she gave me something I didn't even know I'd lost. What's that? Purpose. Linda stood up and walked to the door, opening it. Maya practically fell into the room. She'd clearly been listening at the door. Maya Chen, were you eavesdropping? Maybe a little bit, Maya admitted, looking guilty but hopeful. Did I hear right? Am I really going to get piano lessons? Linda looked at Ryan, then back at her daughter. We're going to talk about it tonight, baby. It's a big decision. But you're considering it? Maya's eyes were huge with hope. I'm considering it. Maya threw her arms around her mother's waist. This is the best day ever. Ryan watched them hug and something warm spread through his chest. This was what success was supposed to feel like. Not closing deals or seeing numbers go up on a screen. This, making a real difference in someone's life. His phone buzzed with yet another email from his assistant, the conference call he'd missed, the investors who were waiting, the business that never stopped demanding his attention. For once he didn't care. I should let you get back to work, Ryan said, standing up. But Linda, please think about what I said. Come by tomorrow at 10. My office is at the Parker Building downtown, 15th floor. Linda nodded, still looking a bit dazed. I'll be there. Ryan shook her hand again, then knelt down to Maya's level. Thank you for asking me to play today. You changed my life. I just wanted to hear music, Maya said simply. I know, but sometimes the simplest things are the most powerful. As Ryan left the mall and walked to his car, the rain had stopped. The sun was breaking through the clouds, creating rainbows in the puddles. He sat in his Mercedes for a long moment before starting the engine, thinking about everything that had happened. That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Linda's worn hands and Maya's hopeful eyes. He thought about his mother and all the sacrifices she'd made. Around midnight, he got out of bed and went to his home office. He started making calls, sending emails, setting things in motion. By 3 in the morning, he'd drafted the framework for the music scholarship program. By 5, he'd contacted 3 music schools about partnership opportunities. By 7, when the sun came up, he'd rearranged his entire week to make room for what actually mattered. When his assistant called at 8:30, confused about his sudden schedule changes, Ryan just smiled. Clear everything non-essential for the next month, he told her. I'm starting something new and it's going to take time to do it right. What kind of project? The kind my mother would have been proud of. He hung up and looked at the piano in the corner of his office. It had been there for years, covered with a sheet collecting dust. He walked over and pulled the sheet off. The piano gleamed underneath, perfect and waiting. Ryan sat down and started to play. 6 months later, Ryan stood backstage at the community center, adjusting his tie for the 3rd time. His hands were sweating. He couldn't remember the last time he'd been this nervous. Business presentations in front of hundreds of investors? No problem. Playing piano in front of a crowd for the first time in years? Terrifying. You're going to be great, Linda said, walking up beside him. She looked different now, healthier. The dark circles under her eyes had faded. She'd gained a little weight. The good kind that comes from not being exhausted all the time. She wore a simple blue dress instead of a gray uniform. And her hands, while still showing signs of her years of hard work, weren't quite as rough anymore. I don't know about that, Ryan said, flexing his fingers. I'm rusty. You've been practicing every day for 6 months. Maya says you sound beautiful. Maya thinks everyone sounds beautiful. She's got a kind heart, Linda smiled. She gets that from her grandmother. And she's right about you. You do sound beautiful. Through the curtain, Ryan could hear the audience filling the seats. 200 people. Maybe more. Local families, reporters, city officials, and his own employees who'd volunteered to help make this night happen. This wasn't just a concert. It was the official launch of something bigger. How many kids are enrolled now? Linda asked, though she already knew the answer. She'd been handling the administrative side of the program for the past 4 months, part of her new role at Ryan's company. 47, as of this morning. We have 8 music teachers signed up, and 3 more schools want to partner with us. The waiting list is growing every week. The Helen Mitchell Memorial Music Scholarship Program had grown faster than Ryan ever imagined. What started as a simple idea to help one little girl had become something that was changing lives across the city. Kids who never thought they'd touch a piano or hold a violin were learning music. Really learning it. Not just the mechanics, but the joy of it. The healing power of it. Ryan had restructured part of his business to support the program. He'd cut his own salary by 30% and convinced his board that investing in the community wasn't just good publicity, it was good business. Employees could volunteer their time during work hours. The company matched all donations to music education programs. Some board members had fought him on it. 2 had quit, but the ones who stayed believed in what he was building. "I wish Mom could see this," Ryan said quietly, looking at the program in his hands. His mother's photo was printed on the front, young and smiling, sitting at a piano. "She can see it," Linda said firmly. "Mothers always know when their children do something good. Trust me on that." A small figure came running up to them, Maya wearing a white dress that Linda had saved up to buy. Her hair was styled with small flowers woven through it. She was practically bouncing with excitement. "Is it almost time? I'm so excited I think I might explode." Linda laughed and straightened her daughter's collar. 10 more minutes, baby." "Are you nervous?" "A little, but mostly excited. I get to play piano in front of all those people. 6 months ago, I'd never even touched a real piano, and now I get to perform." Ryan knelt down to her level. "You remember what we practiced?" "Every single note. Mr. Peterson says I'm a natural. He says I have musical intuition." Maya pronounced the big words carefully, clearly proud of them. "Your teacher is right. You're going to do amazing." "We're going to do amazing," Maya corrected. "We're playing together, remember? You and me, just like we planned." Ryan's throat tightened. "Just like we planned." The stage manager called out, 5 minutes. Linda squeezed Ryan's shoulder. "You've got this. Both of you." The lights dimmed in the auditorium. Ryan heard the crowd settling down. This was it. He took Maya's hand and together they walked to the edge of the stage. Through the gap in the curtain, he could see the piano waiting under the spotlight. It was the same grand piano from the mall. Ryan had bought it and donated it to the community center. Somehow it felt right. This was where everything had started. The master of ceremonies walked on stage and began speaking into the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. We're here to celebrate the launch of the Helen Mitchell Memorial Music Scholarship Program, an initiative that's already changing lives in our community. This program provides free music education to children whose families cannot afford private lessons. Tonight we're honored to have the founder of this program, Ryan Mitchell, performing with one of our first scholarship students, 9-year-old Maya Chen." The applause was thunderous. Ryan felt Maya's hand squeeze his tighter. "Ready?" he whispered. "Ready," she whispered back. They walked onto the stage together. The lights were bright and warm. Ryan could see faces in the front rows. His employees who'd become more like family over these past months. City council members who'd helped cut through red tape to get permits and funding. Music teachers who'd volunteered their time. And there in the third row was Linda, tears already streaming down her face. Ryan and Maya sat side by side at the piano bench. They'd practiced this moment dozens of times, but somehow it felt brand new. Maya looked up at him and smiled. That same hopeful smile from 6 months ago, but brighter now, more confident. "For our first piece," Ryan said into the microphone attached to the piano, "Maya and I will be playing Für Elise by Beethoven. This is the first song my mother ever taught me, and now it's one of the first songs Maya has learned. Music has a way of connecting us across time, across circumstances, across everything that tries to divide us." He placed his hands on the keys. Maya placed her smaller hands beside his, and together they began to play. Maya took the melody, her fingers moving with surprising grace for someone who'd only been playing for 6 months. Ryan provided the harmony, supporting her, filling in the spaces. It wasn't perfect. Maya hit a wrong note in the second verse, and Ryan's timing was slightly off in one measure, but it was beautiful, real, honest. As they played, Ryan thought about everything that had led to this moment. A rainy afternoon, a little girl's simple request, a forgotten dream remembered. He thought about his mother and how proud she would be. Not because he'd made money, not because he was successful in business, but because he'd finally understood what she'd been trying to teach him all along. Success wasn't measured in dollars. It was measured in moments like this. In the way Maya's face lit up when she played. In the way Linda could finally breathe without worrying about 3 jobs. In the 47 kids who were learning that music could make sad hearts feel lighter. They finished the piece together, the final notes hanging in the air like a prayer. The audience erupted. People were standing, clapping, some crying. Ryan looked at Maya, who was beaming with pride and joy. "We did it," she said. "You did it," Ryan corrected. "You did this, Maya. You changed everything." Over the next hour, they watched other scholarship students perform. A 10-year-old boy played violin. Twin sisters sang a duet. A teenager performed an original song on guitar. Each one had a story. Each one had been given a chance they never thought they'd have. During intermission, Linda found Ryan in the hallway. "There's someone here who wants to meet you," she said. She led him to a woman in her 60s standing with a teenage girl. "Ryan, this is Patricia Rodriguez and her granddaughter Sophia." Sophia saw the article about the scholarship program in the newspaper. Patricia shook Ryan's hand firmly. "Mr. Mitchell, my granddaughter wants to learn piano more than anything in the world. We can't afford it. I'm raising her on a fixed income. But I saw what you're doing and I thought maybe—" Ryan smiled. "How soon can Sophia start lessons?" "We have an opening next week." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "Really, just like that?" "Just like that. Music belongs to everyone, Mrs. Rodriguez, not just people who can afford it." Sophia, who'd been quiet until now, burst into tears and hugged her grandmother. Ryan watched them, feeling that familiar warmth in his chest. This was what it was all about. Later that night, after the concert ended and the crowd dispersed, Ryan sat alone at the piano on the empty stage. The lights were dimmed. The building was quiet except for the distant sound of the cleaning crew. He started playing softly. No particular song, just letting his fingers move across the keys, creating melodies as they came to him. He thought about Maya's simple question 6 months ago. "Can you play something?" Such a small request, such a huge impact. The door at the back of the auditorium opened and Maya came running down the aisle, Linda following behind her. "We forgot Maya's sweater," Linda called out. "Didn't expect to find you still here." "Just thinking," Ryan said, still playing. Maya climbed up on the bench beside him. "Play the happy song, the one you made up." Ryan switched to a brighter melody, something he'd composed during one of his late-night practice sessions. Maya started humming along, making up words as she went. Linda sat in the front row watching them. "You know what's funny?" she said. 6 months ago, I was cleaning that mall, thinking my life was never going to change, thinking Maya's dreams were too big. And now look at us. Life changes fast, Ryan said, still playing. Sometimes all it takes is someone brave enough to ask for what they need. Or someone brave enough to listen, Linda added. Maya stopped humming and looked at Ryan seriously. "Do you still have a sad heart?" Ryan thought about it. "No," he said honestly.